Good morning. How's it out there? Is it still balmy like it was this morning? It's really the humidity that gets you. I invite you all to stand. If you're in person with us, I invite you to stand and worship. If you're at home, also go ahead and stand and worship.
There's revival and it's spreading like a wildfire in my heart. Sunday morning, hallelujah, and it's lasting all week long. Can you hear it? Can you feel it? It's the rhythm of a gospel song. Oh, once you choose it, you can't lose it. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. I got an old church choir singing in my soul. I got a sweet salvation and it's beautiful. I've got a heart overflowing 'cause I've been restored. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. Oh, there ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. In the valleys that I wander, turn to mountains that I can't climb. Oh, you are with me, I never leave me. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. I got an old church choir singing in my soul. I got a sweet salvation and it's beautiful. I've got a heart overflowing 'cause I've been restored. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. No, there ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. Clap your hands and stomp your feet till you find that gospel beat, 'cause it's all you'll ever need, all you'll ever need. Clap your hands and stomp your feet till you find that gospel beat, 'cause it's all you'll ever need, all you'll ever need.
Yeah.
I got an old church choir singing in my soul. I've got a sweet salvation and it's beautiful. I've got an old church choir singing in my soul. I got a sweet salvation and it's beautiful. I've got a heart overflowing 'cause I've been restored. There ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. Oh, there ain't nothing gonna steal my joy. Oh, there ain't nothing gonna steal my joy.
Thank you. Thanks. You may now take a seat.
Cool. I'm Craig Fenstead. I'm one of the pastors here.
And I am Chad Shookman. I'm the Director of Youth Ministries. John, that was like, whoa. I can't even go that low. That's not bad for that's not bad. That's not bad for 50 or 40.
I'm guessing you probably sang in an old church choir. Is that right? John actually wrote this song, in case you guys didn't know.
Old choir and an old church choir.
Yeah.
It's not an old church choir. Yeah.
And he's done both of them.
We are so glad that you have joined us for worship today. We try to have a little bit of fun here at the service. If you're joining us online, we are so glad that hopefully you're comfortable. You've got something to drink and you're staying warm at home. And if you ventured out with us this morning, we are excited to have you here. If this is your first time with us, we want to encourage you to stop by and grab a gift out at the table. There's a big old sign that says welcome, and we'd love to get to know you a little bit more. And there's just some ways that we can share you with a little bit about what's going on and how you can maybe find some connections here at the Water's Edge.
Yeah, and another way to get to know us all is next Sunday after this service, we have a thing called Starting Point. So if you're kind of new, I invite you to come to that. It's a luncheon that we have right in the room next door. we get to hear your story, and just if you're new, if you're just really new and want to get to know us, we'd love it if you could come because we want to get to know you. Another way is going to be We Explore. That one is July. I just wish it was July. It's Tuesday, January 30th. That's at 6 o'clock. That's a membership class. So starting point is just more, let's get to know each other. Here's our stories. We Explore is, here's really what we believe as a church. Here's how to get connected. So if you're new, I encourage you to come to both of them. And for all of us, I encourage all of us to come back in 3 weeks. It's February 4th, 5 o'clock, and that part of the church, this part of the church will turn into Omaha's biggest chili hall. So there's dozens of people that make chili. There's hundreds of people that come. It's just like really like one of the coolest, funnest things we do. So just save the date. That's 3 weeks from today.
Since you wish it was July, maybe we can jump it up and get people thinking about June. This coming June, we're going to have our trip to Belize for a mission trip. If you are wanting and thinking that it is just too cold right now and you want to feel like it's already summer, you can sign up to go on our summer mission trip to Belize. That's going to be June 8th through the 16th. It's a medical mission trip, but you don't have to have any medical expertise. There's a lot of opportunities for you to serve and be a part of that.
And here's the best part, too. I can guarantee it's going to be 88 degrees and really humid. So just sign up right now, and that's going to be your life in June.
And you'll already feel warmer for doing so.
Yeah.
So the deadline for that is coming up. It's February 1st. If you'd like more information on it, you can talk to one of us on staff, and we can get you a little bit more information. But we really love to see that trip fill up again this year. Another thing that we've got going on a little bit closer to home is that our We University is starting up February 1st. Now, We University is a series of classes. There's 7 different classes that you can take over about a 2-month time period. These are classes that we have classes on marriage, we have classes on finance and forgiveness. Actually, all those would work with marriage. But we do hope that that's something that you might find as an opportunity for you if maybe you're saying, I want to grow closer to God this year, I want to deepen my relationship with others, or I just want to start to figure out what God has to say on different topics. Look on our website or look in the bulletin this morning. You can find a little bit more information on We University, and you can get signed up for that. Those classes start February 1st.
Yeah, last week was our Pajama Sunday for the kids, and we didn't know we were going to be doing Pajama Sunday 2 weeks in a row for many of our people. But many of you are home in your pajamas. But you can see the pictures, just really cool stuff. So part of what we do is with our offering, there's many, many ways to give, but one of them does, and a lot of our resources go to work with our kids and student ministry. So in this case, it was birth through 5th grade, but yeah, we do VBS in the summer. We have the fishing ministry. We have the Wednesday night stuff. We have the Sunday morning stuff. So a lot of what we do when we give, it goes to invest in the next generation, and that's really who we are as part of a church.
So today we're starting a new sermon series called Practice Makes Progress. And we're hoping that you'll join us along the way. If you would like to today, you can pick up on your way out the door. We have study guides for each week. Now, each week we're going to be printing those and setting them so you have them ready to go on your way out the door. You don't have to hold on to them all week or lose them. But the other thing we do is if you don't want it, if you're not here, if you're online, or if your house church is meeting, you can just find those guides online as well. So we encourage you to grab those and have those as you go about. Now, as we continue in worship this morning, we just want to take a moment and we'll keep going in prayer. So
God, we just pray for this time this morning. God, we're gathered here. God, we're gathered to worship you with you and with each other. Lord, there's many who are gathered at home. And God, throughout the city, throughout the state, even throughout the country, Lord, we're gathered here to worship you. God, today we're going to be talking about growing, and God, it's our desire that we grow. It's our desire that we grow in many areas of our life. And this morning, God, we're going to talk specifically about growing spiritually, growing in our relationship with you, growing in how closely we follow you, growing, God, in our experience and our intimacy with you. Lord, it is cold outside, certainly, and God, there's other distractions that are creeping into our lives even as we pray right now. But God, let this be a time where we just focus on you, wholly on you. God, may it happen through the songs that we sing, through your Scripture that is proclaimed, through the community that we experience. God, let this be a time where we commit these moments to growing in our relationship with you. So, Lord, we love you. God, this is a day that you have made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, God, let us pray this prayer, and we pray this prayer together, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, let us stand as we're able to, and we're going to sing and worship God together.
Worship the God who is. We worship the God who evermore will be. He opened the prison doors. He parted the raging sea. Our God, he holds the victory. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. So we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. We shout out your praise. We sing to the God who heals. We sing to the God who saves. We sing to the God who always makes a way. 'Cause he hung up on that cross, then he rose up from that grave. My God, still rolling stones away. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. Shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. We shout out your praise. Oh, we were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by his grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. We were the beggars, now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, now we're running free. We are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by his grace. Let the house of the Lord sing praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place. And we won't be quiet. We shout out your praise. We shout out your praise.
There's a peace I've come to know, though my heart and flesh may fail. There's an anchor for my soul. I can say it is well. Jesus is overcome, and the grave is overwhelmed. The victory is won. He is risen from the dead, and I will rise when he calls my name. No more sorrow, no more pain. I will rise eagle's wings before my God, fall on my knees and rise. I will rise. There's a day that's drawing near when the darkness breaks to light and the shadows disappear, and my faith shall be my eyes. Jesus has overcome, and the grave is overwhelmed. The victory is won. He is risen from the dead, and I will rise when he calls my name. No more sorrow, no more pain. I will rise on eagle's wings before my God, fall on my knees and rise. And I will rise. And I hear the voice of many angels sing, worthy is the Lamb. And I hear the cry of every longing heart, worthy is the Lamb. And I hear the voice of many angels sing, worthy is the Lamb. And I hear the cry of every longing heart, worthy is the Lamb, worthy is the Lamb. And I will rise when he calls my name. No more sorrow, no more pain. Rise on eagle's wings before my God, fall on my knees and rise. I will rise, and I will rise.
In the crushing, in the pressing, you are making new wine. In the soil I now surrender, you are breaking new ground. So I yield to you and to your careful hand. When I trust you, I don't need to understand. Make me a vessel, make me an offering, make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing, but all you have given me Jesus, bring new wine out of me. In the crushing, in the pressing, you are making new wine. In the soil I now surrender, you are breaking new ground. You are breaking new ground. So make me a vessel, make me an offering, make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing but all you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. 'Cause where there is new wine, there is new power, there is new freedom, and the kingdom is here. I lay down my things to carry your new fire today. 'Cause where there is new wine, there is new power, there is new freedom, and the kingdom is here. Lay down my old flames to carry your new fire today. Make me a vessel, make me an offering, make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing but all you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me.
Thank you for singing along. You may now take a seat.
All right, well, good morning, church. It's great to be with you this morning. My name is Leandra. I'm one of the pastors here. And if you're new in the last few months, I am probably new to you because I've been on maternity leave for the past 3 months. And just coming back, I think we have a picture of the three of them. I've been spending most of my time with these three for the last 3 months. And so that's Nolan on the left. He's going to be 2 in March. And then Mia and Morgan joined us. Mia's in the white and Morgan's in the pink. Joined us on October 4th. So for the last few months, I've been spending a lot of time with them. And I know when people have babies, they're like constantly trying to show you, like, look at this picture of my baby, and it can get really annoying. So I just have 7 more pictures. So next slide. No, that's the only one. At the first service, I made a joke about how there's more pictures on my Instagram, and I just checked. I have 7 friend requests on Instagram. So I'm gonna have to post some more pictures of them because there's really not that many. But yeah, it's been great to be on maternity leave. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you, so many of you that reached out and checked in on us and made us meals and sent us cards. And even a few brave souls have texted and asked to babysit, like all 3 of them. And we are going to take you up on that, so careful if you offer that. I will call you. But we just want to say thank you. It was so nice to have that time, and the church was so supportive of us getting to do that and being away and not having to work during that time. But I am excited to be back. This has really never just felt like a job. I love being here. We still came and worshiped here. This is our community, and we like being here, and it's just really great to be back. Coming back from maternity leave is really weird. For 3 months, I've been with at least those 2 little girls 24/7. Their whole lives. I've never really been apart from them. And then you go to like going to work every day and dropping them off at daycare. And I remember that week before coming back, just praying. I hope this goes well and we figure out new routines. And I was praying. I hope that even though I'm coming back and going to be really busy, I pray that we can still find time to be together and have that quality time together as a family. And after this last week, I'm realizing I should have been more specific. We got plenty of quality time this week. I could have done without the snow. I wasn't picturing like God trap us in our house for 3 days so we can be together. But prayer does work. You just have to be really careful. So those of you that are at home watching, and if you're snowed in, maybe that was my fault. I apologize, but I'm glad that you can still join us online. And Sarah, our online host, is in the comment section there. So feel free to pop in there. Let us know who you're watching with, where you're watching from, and we're glad that you can still join us. We've got an online bulletin and everything on there for you. So we're glad that you could still make it to worship. One of the cool things I got to do on my maternity leave, so as pastors, you almost never get to do this. I got to go worship at a different church. While we were on leave, I went home to like where I grew up in Marion, Iowa, and while we were there, I went to church at Marion Methodist, which is the church where I grew up for the most part. In middle school, someone invited me to youth group there, and I wasn't really interested in the whole church thing, but all my friends were going. It sounded fun, and one thing led to another, and here I am. But that's the church where I mostly grew up, and it was just so cool to go back there. And it's the same pastor that I grew up with. He's been there since I was in 3rd grade, and he's still going strong. And being back in that church, there's something about being back at home, whether it's you go back to your hometown if you didn't grow up here, or back to an old church, or you like drive past the old house where you used to live, that just makes you really reflective. And like all of a sudden you're just right back in that time and place. And it was interesting being there and thinking like who I was as that teenager, as that middle schooler, and like meeting Jesus for the first time and hearing all this stuff for the first time, and learning about grace and reading the Bible, and the friends that I made there that are, for the most part still my best friends today that I still talk to. And it was just really cool to be back there. I felt like I was called to be a pastor and started considering being a pastor, and I was only 17 years old. That's when I started talking to my pastor about it and meeting with him. And by the time I got to Creighton for college, I was planning to go to seminary. And last week when Craig was talking about know your why, that reason that gets you out of bed in the morning, what inspires you, what motivates you, what's kind of that purpose behind everything you do that motivates the way you live your life. And when I was back home, I was like, what was my why for that 17-year-old, like, teenager in high school? And I was like, I want to be a pastor. I think I'm going to be a pastor. I wish I could go back and, like, remember and feel it exactly. I was trying to think back of, what it might have been. And I just remember, like, when I first started going to youth group with my friends and being in the church and hearing this stuff for the first time, I just remember before then just being so insecure. I know a lot of teenagers, a lot of adults are. All I wanted in life was for people to like me. I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to be a part of the crew. I didn't want anyone to reject me. And you have this fear of like, if I let people see the real me, they're just gonna hate it, and they're not gonna want to hang out with me. So you're always like trying to be something you're not, and it's just exhausting. You always just kind of have this fear underlying of, if I say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, like, I'm going to be out. And you see it in middle school, like people do. They get kicked out of the friend group. And that was just my biggest fear. And I remember starting to go to youth group for the first time and meeting some of those other kids. And I met some other girls there that were 7th graders just like me, and I remember thinking, like, they do not have that. They are not afraid of what people think. They are like totally being themselves, and they're okay with it. And I wanted that. It felt like it just looked so freeing to be able to live that way. And over time, I realized that they were getting that love and acceptance from somewhere else, and I was trying to get it from other 13-year-olds who were mean, and they were getting it from Jesus, and they were able to be themselves in that freedom, and they found love and acceptance somewhere else. And once I finally found that, I just felt so free. And I remember as a teenager thinking, like, everyone needs to feel this. Everyone needs to know this. And I think that was probably my first why when I was thinking about working in the church someday or serving. I just had this new experience of this is what it's supposed to be like, and looking around and seeing that so many other people didn't have that. And over time, I think that's changed. That why has grown. Things have been added. 2 years ago, I had 0 kids. I know, life comes at you fast. And now I have 3, and nothing will change your why like having kids. And in the last 2 years, the things that motivate me, the things I notice here, the things I care about are totally changed from 2 years ago. I'm a lot more invested in what Jason's doing over there. I want to make sure he's doing a good job. But I think about, how can I give this to my kids? How can I make sure when they're in middle school that they're not feeling insecure and looking to other people to make them feel okay about themselves? How can I, help other parents? This is crazy what we do. How can the church be a place where parents can come and get support and help and make strong marriages? These are all things that like 2 years ago were not really part of my why, and now they are. Like, life changes, and we're all kind of on this path, hopefully, of a somewhat upward trajectory. And being back home, I was like reflecting on that of, when I first became a Christian and met Jesus, was in the church, I was right here, and how did I get to like where I am today? And it definitely wasn't like this. Maybe at first, and I was like this for a little bit, and then up a little bit, and then down for a long time, and then hopefully up here for a little. But over time, I've slowly grown over the years, grown as a person, grown in my faith and relationship with God, and thinking about how that happened. How did I get to where I am today, and how am I going to get to that next place 10, 15 years from now? And that's what we're going to look at in this series is how can we grow? How can we grow closer to God? What are the practices, the habits, the things we can do to make sure that for the most part, we're still kind of moving in this direction, that we're still growing. And I think I don't want us to forget about the why, figuring out our why and clarifying that and defining that, because growing closer to God is going to help us get there. As I look back, the times when my why was a lot more clear and effective in my life is when I was close to God. And those times when I felt disconnected and distanced from God, my why was really unclear because I had all these other things pulling me in different directions. So we're going to look at how to grow. We're going to look at these practices. And we called the series, we didn't want to call it Practice Makes Perfect. That's why we crossed it out, because that is just not true. I don't know if you've ever practiced anything, but you don't get perfect at it. I spent a whole summer practicing basketball. Every day I went to the YMCA. I'm like, I'm going to make varsity. I'm going to be this great basketball player. And that was my whole summer. And then in the fall, I zeroed scholarship offers. I was still 5'2". I didn't even start on my high school team. But practice did not make perfect. I got better, but I didn't get perfect. And the practices we're going to look at now, a lot of times we use that term, spiritual practices, right? What are the spiritual practices we have to do? Praying, read the Bible, serve, be in community. And we call them spiritual practices for a reason, because you are never going to be perfect at prayer, ever. Nobody is. The best prayer warrior I know is not perfect at prayer. But every time we pray, we get a little bit better at prayer. It's a practice. We're constantly practicing these things. The more we read the Bible, the better we're going to be at understanding and applying it to our life and making sense of it. It's going to create progress. It's not going to create perfection. These are all things that we're practicing. So today we're going to look at John 15. And it's in your bulletin, your online bulletin, if you kind of like to follow along and see the words in front of you. And in this passage, Jesus, he's talking to his disciples, and what he's teaching them is, how can you grow? How can we grow from where we are today to be closer to God, to be stronger in our faith, to just grow as a person? And Jesus is teaching them that, and he's really clear about it. And I actually want to start at the end of the passage. So I'm going to start in verse 11 at the very end, because at the end, after Jesus teaches them, here's how to grow, he says at the end, and here's why I'm telling you this. Here's why I want to help you grow. Here's why this matters. He tells them his own why. And he says, he starts in verse 11. He says, I have told you these things so that, and I wanted to cut it off here because I want us to think, when we talk about, okay, a pastor's up here telling us, you should grow closer to God. You should grow in your faith. The reason he tells us that, this does not end with, I have told you these things so that you will get more work done for the church. Or I have told you these things so that you will be a better Christian or even be a better person. I have not told you these things so that you pass the good Christian test and do all the things you're supposed to and get into heaven. That is not what Jesus says. So Jesus teaches them how to grow. And I really want us to notice what he says. He said, I have told you these things so that you will be filled with joy. That's why he wants us to grow. It is not to check some box or to look a certain way. He says, I'm telling you these things because if you grow closer to God, if you live this way, you're going to experience more joy. And that's what he wants for us. That's why he cares. That's why it matters to him. I think usually we look at these practices and we think, well, I got to do them so that I'm good enough. Or I got to do them, and if I don't, Jesus is going to be mad. Jesus is not saying that. He's saying, I want you to grow for you, for you to experience joy. So just like for a second, take a moment. I want everyone to think, online, you got to do this too. Think of the person that you know in your life that you perceive as probably the closest in their relationship with God. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a relative, maybe it's someone you met years ago. I want you to picture that person. You're like, of all the people I know, I'm pretty sure this person, they seem the closest to God. They have the strongest relationship with God that I know. They have the strongest faith. So is everyone picturing? You got to picture a real person. Everyone got one? You guys got one? You have one? You don't have one? All right, 10 more seconds. She doesn't have one. Everyone, picture someone in your head. And then I want you to think about, is this person that you're imagining, that you've picked out, would you describe them as joyful? Do you think this is someone that you would say has joy? Because I know when I was trying to think of this, I was trying to picture the person. I was picturing my friend Lisa, and I asked myself, I was like, what is different about her? Why does she come to mind for me? And I realized it's exactly what Jesus said. Like, she's just joyful. You feel it when you come in the room. It like rubs off on you almost. And it's not because her life is perfect or easy or like better than any of ours. Through health problems and losing people and just really tough stuff that she did at work, like that joy was still there. It's not happiness. Happiness is here today, gone tomorrow. It's based on circumstance. But that joy, it's like this underlying hope that I feel like she has, that there's a reason to have hope. There's a reason to have joy. And she has that. And I think Jesus is right. Like, the closer she grows to God, the more she has that. And Jesus wants us to have that too. So he uses a metaphor. He uses metaphors and imagery to help us understand spiritual things a lot. So let's go to the beginning of John 15 now. He says, I am the true grapevine. My Father is the gardener. He says, I am the vine and we are all the branches. And he's setting up this metaphor. So I don't know about you. I haven't spent a lot of time around grapevines. I don't know a lot about them. So here's a picture. This is what he's talking about. So this is a grapevine. It grows grapes. So this bottom main vine that you see at the middle, Jesus is saying, that's me. I'm the main vine. And then as it grows, all these little branches shoot off the top. And he's saying, that's us. We're those little branches on top. And then he goes on to say in verse 4, he says, remain in me and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it's severed from the vine. If that little branch on top is cut off, it can't grow. It has to stay connected to the vine. He says, in the same way, you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me, unless you stay connected to me, unless you have some point of connection and you stay connected to that vine. He's saying in order to grow, you have to remain here. You can't pop in every once in a while or check in or stop by and be like, okay, I need to get filled up here, and then I'm going to go out and I'll check in with you another time when I'm empty. He says you have to remain here all the time. The branch cannot leave the vine. It doesn't work that way. Let's go back to verse 5. He says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit. They'll grow, they'll flourish. But apart from me, you can do nothing. And he's not saying you can't do anything. You know, if we were severed from you, we could still walk out of here and go live our lives. But he's saying, apart from me, the branch, it's not going to grow. It's not going to produce any fruit. There's not going to be anything really, you know, beneficial that comes from it if you don't stay connected. And, you know, in this metaphor, at the beginning, he says, he's the vine, we're the branches, and God is the gardener. So God is the one that comes and maintains this garden. And this is the first thing he says. So he's teaching the disciples how to grow. And he doesn't say, you know, the typical plant metaphor, okay, you're a plant and you need water and sunlight and soil, and that's prayer and the Bible and community. Like, that is not the first thing he says. The first thing he says is the gardener, God, cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit so that they will produce even more. He says the first thing that happens for these branches to grow, for us to grow, is not to add in all this stuff. The first thing that God does to help us grow is prune off all the unnecessary, unproductive, unhelpful things, branches that we have going on. Now, this metaphor, it would have been really crystal clear to the disciples. They lived in a part of the world where there were lots of vineyards and grapevines and agriculture, and they knew how this stuff worked. I can barely keep like those impatient flowers alive in my front yard, and if you know anything about, those are the easy ones. That's what they give to the beginners because they're really easy. And I just cannot, I know nothing about gardening. So last night I did some grapevine research on Iowa State's agricultural website. I think is a good source. And can we put the grapevine up one more time? So I was reading, like, what does it mean to prune? What is it really doing? Like, how does that help? And I learned that the grapes, these grapevines actually like naturally produce too many grapes. Like if you don't prune, if you just let it grow, it produces too many grapes. So one grapevine might have 300 buds sprout, and each bud would grow into a full thing of grapes. But there's only enough nutrients in the vine really to grow 100 buds. So if you don't prune, if you leave all 300 buds, those nutrients get split evenly between all 300, and then none of them grow because none of them have enough. So you have all these like underdeveloped or small grapes or they don't grow at all. So what the gardener has to do and what you do in vineyards is you have to go to each vine and really look at it and say, you know, where are the best 100 buds? And we're going to cut off everything else so that all of the nutrients go to the 100 and then they can all grow fully and you get these great big full batches of good grapes. And so Jesus is saying here, like, if we don't prune, we're going to have all this stuff going on. We're going to be pulled in all these different directions. We're going to be trying to do all these different things, and we only have so much nutrients coming through. And if it's going in all these different directions, we're not going to grow at all because we're going to be splitting all our physical energy, our emotional energy, our spiritual energy between all these different things. And we're not going to grow. He says the first thing you need to do before you add anything else to make this plant grow, to make us grow, is to cut off those branches that are sucking up some of that energy but are not helping us move forward. So let's say you want to grow closer to God, but you've got this big anger branch on the side of your tree. And that anger is just sucking up all your emotional energy. You know, anytime you try and grow in your relationships or pray, it's just festering there. That's going to be sucking up too much energy. If we want to grow over here, we have to prune that anger branch and get rid of it and direct our energy elsewhere. Let's say that you want to grow closer to God, but you've got a branch over here and it's envy and comparison and jealousy, and you're constantly just looking at other people and I'm not as good as them, I'm not as skinny as them, I'm not as Christian as them, their kids are so much better than mine, they've got every time you try and grow or make progress, it doesn't feel good enough because this branch is constantly getting in the way of you feeling grateful for anything that's going on over here. And until we work on pruning this branch, we're never going to be able to grow in gratitude. We're not going to be able to grow closer to God if we're constantly bitter that we don't have as much as we think we should. We have to prune that branch off. Maybe it's some past hurt or mistake. Someone did something to you or you did something, and you're not going to be able to move forward with God until you prune that and work on forgiveness and experience that. I think for a lot of people, that branch that's just sucking all our energy and keeping us from growing is some version of perfectionism. This feeling that I have to be everything to everyone and do everything and be everywhere, and I got to do it perfectly, and we're trying to give 100% to work and our family and our friends and being healthy and being at church and doing everything, and so we're really not giving 100% to any of it because we only have so many nutrients. We only have so much energy. And if we're trying to grow 300 things, we're not going to end up growing anything. And Jesus is saying, prune some of that down. Get rid of the unnecessary stuff. Get rid of the stuff that's not helpful. Get rid of those big, ugly branches that are sucking up all your energy but not helping you, so that you can redirect that energy somewhere else. I think the first step for a lot of us, if we're looking at growing for God, it's not going to be starting a new practice or a new habit. It's going to be, I need to spend the next 5 weeks pruning the branch that's getting in the way. And then I can add a practice or habit, once I get past that. And I do want to talk about, Jesus does move on and talk about some of the practices and the things you can add to help you grow. And I know you're all sitting here and you're thinking, well, I wonder what the pastor is going to say on how to grow, right? Pray, read the Bible, serve, join a small group, take a class. We all know that. You could have told me that before this. I think if someone has rarely been to church ever and they walked in here and we said, hey, how do you think people could grow closer to God? They would get it right. They would know the answers. We know the what. We know what to do. That's usually pretty obvious. The part that I struggle with and I hear other people struggling with is not what do I do, it's how do I do it. I know that praying can bring me closer to God. I just can't figure out how to make prayer part of my life. I keep failing. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know when to do it. All the time with the Bible, people are like, I want to read the Bible. I want to know more. I want to read, from beginning to end. And they start these plans, and then 2 weeks later, I'm off track, and I'm 4 days behind, and it's just not going to happen. And we're just in this cycle of, I'm going to start a habit. I got these lofty goals. It's going to happen, and then it doesn't. And I think it's the how that backs us up. We know what. We know what to do. But, we say, well, how can I read the Bible and make it make sense? How can I apply it to my life and make it meaningful? How can I pray in a way that actually feels impactful to me? How can I serve and actually make a difference in the world and not just like I'm putting a Band-Aid on something? Or how can I build community that is really changing my life? We know what to do. We don't know how to do it. And I think the biggest one that gets in the way is I just don't have the time or the energy or the space to add anything to my life right now. I mean, it's true for all of us. All of us, our lives are so jam-packed, full, and busy. The idea of getting up and I need to, read the Bible for 30 minutes every morning, it's just not going to happen. And we know that. And maybe we keep trying and then it doesn't happen. And, okay, well, we'll try again in a few months. And in a few months, it's probably still not going to work. I remember when I was growing up and just starting to do some of these things for the first time and trying to figure it out. Can we put up that Bible picture? This is what I thought it meant to be a Christian. Has anyone seen some version of this picture? Every Christian I knew, they posted this picture, the coffee and the Bible. They had beautiful doodles. They always had great handwriting. And I just remember always seeing those, and I was like, if I want to be a good Christian, this is it. This is what you have to do. This is what everyone else is doing. And this is the way to do it. And some of you can do this. And if you can, I'm jealous. I hope someday it will be me, but it's just never worked for me. Like, first of all, I think coffee is gross. I don't like the smell. I don't like the taste. And, you know, I think if I posted this and it was like a Diet Coke, the aesthetic's not the same. And I don't really want people to know that I have Diet Coke before 7 a.m., so I would never post that. And the second thing is, everyone I knew that was doing this, they were doing it first thing in the morning. And I'm not a morning person. I get going around 11, so you guys got me at a good time. I've just never been a morning person. And like everyone I knew was like, that's the first thing. You wake up, you got to read the Bible. That's got to be your first thing. And it just never worked for me. It's not going to work for me now. The first hour of the day in our house is the most chaotic hour of the whole day. Like, from wake up to get everyone in the car is complete chaos. There's no Bible reading going on. There's prayers. But like, that's just not going to work for me in this season of life, and I know that. And I think the last thing that was always discouraging that picture, they always just had such beautiful doodles and writing, and they're like really inspirational notes of things they noticed in the scriptures. And I bought one of those Bibles with the margins, and I'm like, I'm going to write my notes in there, and someday my kids will read this, and they'll be so inspired by all my thoughts. And I just have like the worst handwriting ever. I was looking at my Bible the other day with some of those notes, and like, my kids aren't going to be able to read this at all. It's just going to be a Bible full of scribbles. But I would see these pictures, and I would hear other people, and like every good Christian I know was doing the same thing. You get up early, you make coffee, you've got a special chair, and you turn on music, and you read the Bible. And they were all doing that, and I kept trying to do it, and I kept failing. I was like, I guess I'll never be a Christian. I cannot pull this off. And I thought that that was the only way to grow closer to God, and that's why I kept failing. You know, our relationship with God is just like any other relationship. It's personal, it's unique. It's not going to look the same as somebody else's. So, like, let's pick someone as an example just totally randomly. So let's just say Pastor Craig, for example. Totally random. I thought you weren't going to be in here at this service, but I'll pick you again. So I'm guessing a lot of you in here, you have a relationship with Pastor Craig. You guys know him? A lot of you. You've talked to him before. So a bunch of us in here, you guys online, you guys know him. We all have a relationship in some way with Pastor Craig. But all of us, our relationship with him is going to look different. You know, we're not going to talk to him the same way. We don't have the same experiences with him. We don't know the same things about him. You know, some of you have known him for years. Some of you maybe just met him this morning. So Craig is the same person. He's not changing based on who's approaching him. But every relationship is different because it's personal. Our relationship with God is the same way. I think we look out and we say, well, you know, Lisa's relationship with God looks like this, and this is what works for her. And if I want to be like her, then I got to copy what she's doing. But her relationship with God is totally different from mine. You know, she's had different experiences. She knows different things. She's been in that relationship longer than me. You know, some of you maybe have been in a relationship with God like longer than I've been alive. And others of us might just be starting that relationship today. So it's going to look totally different. And so we are all going to grow and connect with God in totally different ways. If we're always looking to someone else and saying, I got to do it then, we're going to keep failing because we're not them. And our life is not their life. Some people have that hour in the morning, and that's going to work for them, and that's great. It's never going to work for me. Not right now. Maybe someday. But the relationship is personal, so it's always going to look unique, and we're all going to have to go and find those unique ways and strategies that work for us. So, like the last few months, it's just been so busy in our house, like everything, there's always something going on, and I've found that one of the things that works for me right now is every 3 hours, 24/7, can't miss it, I feed babies. Every 3 hours. And I've found that every 3 hours, that's a time where I can just sit for a second and pray. You can't get much else done. You've got to do it. And that's what works for me right now. So that's not going to work for everyone because you guys aren't feeding babies every 3 hours. I had another friend, he said his prayer time every day is when he brushes his teeth. He does it every morning, he does it every night, 3 minutes in the morning, 3 minutes at night, and he prays while he brushes his teeth. He's just standing there, he's got nothing else going on, and hopefully he's not missing that appointment every day. That's something he does every morning, and that's what's worked for him. Like, it's a reminder to be consistent, and that's how he's made it work. On my commutes in the morning, I always tell people I live pretty close to the church, and when people ask how far away I live, I always say I live one song away. I get in the car, I get to pick one song, and then when the song's over, I'm at the church or I'm at home. I live one song away. And so what I've started doing in the last few weeks is, right when I get in the car, I pick some sort of worship song. And for my 3-minute one-song drive in here, that's just a moment to be with God and to collect myself and before I come to work. And same thing on the way home. It's this moment where I can just be with God alone by myself in the car and get ready to go back home as well. And that's what works for me. So if you work from home or you don't have a commute, that's not going to work for you. You're going to have to find those times in your day, in your routine that are going to work for you. And you're not going to be able to copy someone else. And it's the same with who we are. So I can't listen to the Bible. The people that listen and play it out loud or do podcasts, I am not listening. You could play that and afterwards I'll be like, I have no idea what they just said. I have to be reading it. But some people can. They can listen to that and that helps them learn better and they're going to do it that way. Some of you might go serve in another part of the world this summer in Belize, and you've got the time right now in your life to be able to go and do that, and you're going to go and you're going to experience God, and it's going to be awesome. You're going to grow. And for others of us, that might not work this year, but you might just go out your front door and shovel a neighbor's driveway and serve them, and you're going to experience God that way right here and 10 steps from your door in the freezing cold. You have to find the things that are going to work for you. What is personal to who you are, what is personal to your routine, and maybe you're going to start with pruning, maybe you're going to start by adding, but I wish I could come up here and say, here's the sermon on how to grow closer to God. Do these 5 things and you will grow. And I don't want to do that today because it's not going to work. There's no 5 things, there's no one thing that is going to work for everyone in this room. We're all going to have to find the personal thing. So instead of trying to find the perfect way to grow closer to God, the perfect thing that's just going to change everything, I want us to think about what is the personal and practical way I can grow closer to God today, this week. What is it that's going to work for me? I can't tell you what that is. I don't know what you're doing later today. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what other branches, are getting in your way that need to be pruned. It's going to be personal and it's going to need to be practical. If we set out and say, I'm going to read the Bible for an hour every morning, and you've never made the 10 minutes work before, that's not practical. I hope you can pull it off, but I don't know if you're going to be able to. What is personal? What is practical? And I don't want us to leave here with a bunch of good ideas, or I definitely don't want us to leave here saying, yeah, that was a good sermon, a lot of good points, maybe I'll do something. So I'm going to have the band come back up here as we wrap up, and I want to give us some time, but before we leave here, before you close me off of your screen or your TV, don't turn it off yet. I'm just going to give us some time right now to just go to God, to pray, to reflect, to think, what is it that's going to work for me this week? What do I need to do? There's going to be 2 questions up on the screen. What needs to be pruned, if that's where you are? How am I going to start pruning that branch? How am I going to start hacking at it and try and get it away so I can focus my energy and time on something else? And then maybe the second question is where you're at. What is that personal, practical thing that is going to work for you this week, that is going to work for you today? Because I hear the story over and over again, and I've lived the story over and over again of big dreams. This is the year. This is when it's going to happen. I'm going to grow closer to God. I'm going to do these things, and it doesn't work. We just keep failing and spinning, and I don't want to come back here next January and we're all in the same spot we are today. It doesn't have to be a lofty goal. It doesn't have to be perfect. What is that personal, practical thing? Maybe it's 3 minutes brushing your teeth. That's good. That's a good place to start. What is that thing that's going to work for you? Where can we start making progress? It doesn't have to be perfect. So the band's going to play. We're going to have just a minute or two to reflect and think about maybe what's that next step. I want us to all leave this time of worship with that one next step for us. And then as you leave, I want to encourage you, if you're at home, you're watching, and you've got other people around you, tell them what your thing's going to be. Post it in the comments. If you're in here in person this morning, tell someone on the drive home. If you're driving home alone, call a friend. Tell someone, here's what I'm going to try. Here's my personal practical thing for this week. In our bulletins and on the online bulletin, we have a little habit tracker. So if you are a check the box person, there's 7 boxes. So I prayed while brushing my teeth 7 times. If that helps you, take that home, use that. But what is that next thing going to be for you? And then over the next 4 weeks, we're going to look at these practices and habits in creative ways where we can continue to grow in these areas and continue to grow closer to God. So I'll start us off and then just use the time as you'd like. So let's go to God and let's pray. God, we come to you, and it's the beginning of the year, and we're hopeful, and we want the end of this year to look different. We want to look different, and God, I just pray that you keep us from being discouraged. All the things we've tried and failed, all the times we've thought we were going to grow and then didn't. God, I just pray that you give us a hope that this time is going to be different. I pray for every person in here, for the unique relationship they have with you, for the unique things going on in their life, for the unique things that they've experienced. God, just give us all a spark of inspiration this morning. What are the ways that you're reaching out to us? What are the ways you're trying to connect with us? What are the things that are going to work for us? God, we want to be closer to you. We want to experience that joy. We want to have that hope. We want to know what peace feels like. I just pray that in these next 2 minutes, you move us one step closer in that direction.
In the crushing, in the pressing, you are making new wine. In the soil I now surrender, you are making new wine. So I yield to you and to your careful hand. When I trust you, I don't need to understand. Make me a vessel, make me an offering, make me whatever you want me to be. I came here with nothing, but all you have given me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me. Jesus, bring new wine out of me.
We hope you had a moment to contemplate that. And what we know is that even just taking that moment to go to God and say, hey, what is it do I need to prune out? And what are some ways that you have for me? Just in that, there's growth. So we invite you this week to just continue to pursue that. There are study guides on the front page of the website, weomaha.com. Also, just right outside the door here, grab them. We invite you to stay warm this week, to stay safe, to have good celebrations for Martin Luther King Jr. Day tomorrow. And we hope to see you next week.